I gotta get better. I gotta get better applause, folks. It's 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm Fred McMurray, which means this is. Gotta get the right one. I'm Fred McMurray. As I said, I'm with my co-host Ray Pillar, and we've got a very special guest today. Ray, who's our guest today? And then we'll jump into all the good weather stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, our guest has been on before, and we're glad to have him back. It's Larry Broughton. Larry is a hotelier, award-winning CEO and entrepreneur, a Special Forces veteran, and best-selling author. So welcome back to the show, Larry.
Thank you very much, guys. It's going to be fun to be back on here. By the way, I like your upgraded bumper music. Very good. You guys just keep getting better.
Yeah.
That was thanks to Markel's Audio Lab.
Awesome.
We actually have since had another group. The Monotones have agreed to do a intro for us also. So we're actually getting people competing to be
To do intros of our show. That's great.
People are like, I can do better than that. That's awesome. That's really good.
So now for the obligatory, where are we? We'll ask Larry where he is first and what's the weather like.
All right. Well, listen, I'm in Anaheim, California. I'm looking out my window right now. Beautiful cloud formations. We are just going through the last couple of days. We've had some storms here, so I can't complain. I'm guessing it's in the low 70s, high 60s here. So, but it's beautiful out there right now. I'm looking at palm trees, so I can't complain.
Yeah, we know where I am. So go ahead, Ray. Where are you today?
Well, I can't complain because it's simply not snowing, but it's raining. It's windy. I mean, if it was 20 degrees cooler, it would be snow, and I'm just thankful for that because right now we're 48 degrees outside and overcast and rainy, and it's, well, I'm sitting in Aurora, Illinois, all the way, Wayne's World.
That's the applause. So I'm in my happy show beach, and the Pacific's blue just like that, and it's in the low 70s, and I can wear a hoodie, and I'm just a happy man, folks.
Yeah.
So
life does not suck for you.
Life does not suck for me. Yeah, life doesn't suck for me. So tell us what you've been up to lately in your international travel and intrigue, and from saving the U.S. or protecting the U.S. to becoming the top hotel guy in the U.S.
I don't know what the top hotel guy. I don't know. We've got a lot going on. Let's see here. I've been doing a little bit of continued writing. I've got a couple of books that I'm working on right now on leadership. One of them is called Alpha American that I'm kind of excited about. Let's see here. What else am I working on? Still doing some keynote speeches. I was in the Bahamas a couple of weeks ago and in Buffalo at the same time doing some keynote talks. I'm heading out to do one this afternoon or this evening as well. I'm still growing the hotel company. We've got a pretty cool fund that we're working on right now. We're about to close on. It's about a $340 million fund. And we think we're going to leverage that up to about $1 billion in assets over the next few years. So that's keeping me excited and out of trouble a little bit. And I've got awesome kids who are just, keeping me young.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it by the gray beard, but yes.
Okay, so tell us more about this $340 million to $1 billion fund. That sounds
it's not to $1 billion. The fund is
$1 billion.
Yeah. So the idea here is we've been working for a couple of years on Well, let me back up. Historically, when we've grown our organization, by the way, Fred, I'm getting really bad reverb. I don't know if you're getting the same thing, but I don't know if there's something you can do on your end, but I'm getting reverb. So I hope your listeners aren't. But historically, we've grown our organization by doing PPMs or syndicating our deals, where we'll go out and put together an investment group of a collection of people, and they'll put in $100,000 or $500,000, and we pool the money, and then we go out and acquire an asset. That is time consuming and a pain in the rear, honestly, because sometimes for a $20 million asset, you might have 40 or 60 different partners in this thing. And it's just like herding cats, sometimes. And sadly, oftentimes people who have the smallest investment who complain the most, and that's a pain in the rear to deal with as well. So we've been trying to change our strategy over the last few years. And so for a couple of years, we've been trying to put together some kind of vehicle where we can fuel growth through acquisition, but where we control the asset, we control our destiny, we control the money, the purse strings, all of it. And so we put together a fund of about, as I'd mentioned, $300 and some million. And the idea here is through purchases, through financing vehicles, through leases to acquire about $1 billion in assets. And so the good side is this: we have one person that's making the decisions on do we do this asset or not. We have one person that we report to, not 60 per, I'm being a little bit dramatic, 60 partners in one project. So that makes it a lot easier. The problem is this: when you have $300 and some million sitting in a fund, it needs to be earning money. You need to be placing it, or else the clock is ticking on money just sitting in an account someplace, right? So we have to move very quickly. And so that's what we've been doing for the last several months, identifying assets so that when the fund does close in mid-December, right after the first of the year, we start acquiring assets. And so that, of course, provides all kinds of headaches because you need to make sure that you've got infrastructure to operate all of these assets. Because right now we've got about 15 hotels that we currently operate. We've divested ourselves from a handful over the last couple of years to make sure that we're positioned properly. Because, sometimes in business, you might have a small asset that requires as much or more management and heavy lifting than a larger asset. So we've cut those out of the portfolio, or currently cutting those out of the portfolio, so that we're better positioned for the bigger, more, it's the whole 80-20 principle, right? And so we're trying to just leverage our time and resources better. So we're pretty excited about it. It's going to be a fun run here over the next few years. Our life will be different 18 months from now than it is right now, for sure.
All right, so we'll bring me back in 18 months because it was close. It's been about a year since you've been on.
That's right. That's right.
So,
That's right.
Ray, jump in. Sorry, before I ask the next one.
No. You go ahead. But one of the things that came to mind is right now you're in hotels. Are you looking at any other assets?
Yeah. It's interesting. They'll all be kind of real estate, multifamily kind of thing. So we are looking at multifamily housing. One of the things that we're seeing happen in that space is, think about these high-end or these multifamily apartment buildings. I'm not talking about a fourplex. I'm talking about like a building has 100 units or 200 units. A lot of those places are looking for hotel type of services, concierge services. Like, I live in an apartment, I'm a young professional, but I want somebody to deal with my dog sitting or my dry cleaning, or I want a space where I can have events for friends who kind of come over. So basically it's a multifamily building that's operated like a hotel. So we're looking at those assets. We're looking at branded residential units, like you can think of the Montage residences, right? So there's that. And then maybe even some higher end senior assisted living. So it's kind of all in the hospitality genre space. But then there's the food and beverage side as well. We've got a couple of food concepts that we're probably going to be rolling out in the next couple of years as well.
Okay, so you just brain dumped a whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah. I remember, for your listeners who don't remember, I'm a little bit of an entrepreneurial schizophrenic. Okay.
Really. I
And
mean,
and
that's
and
really stepping on a lot of things.
and
A
we're
lot of
going to get
hats.
back to the story on how you started on there, because to me that's always compelling. But I
Mhm.
want to go back to the first one you said of multi uh, dwelling, family dwelling, not in
Huh?
a fourplex but large, because I started thinking about what I see along the California coast, which tells me that's like really high end money. But then you said um, you backed it down where it could be, I'm thinking, anywhere, and now you're targeting the millennial audience with some
I
of
didn't say
these.
millennials.
It sounds.
Young professionals. If they've got money, then they're our target.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm thinking like here in Anaheim, for instance. When I got divorced, I'm here in my office. It's called Stadium Tower. Here, I look out the window and I can see Honda Center, and out that window is Anaheim Stadium where the Angels play. There are high-rise condos in this area that have people like me, or had. I don't live here now, but when I did, I was in my, what was I in, late 40s, early 50s, CEO of a business, but living in one of these, and a neighbor might have been a young professional attorney
Mm-hmm.
who was living there, right? And I think what you're seeing more and more, Fred, is this urban infill that's happening. Now, particularly here in California. I mean, you live here, you know what the cost of how single family residents
Mm-hmm.
are, right? So
That's
I do
why
think
I'm
that there's
flashing.
what's that?
That's why I'm flashing on this, because this is
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, yeah. So we think there's a big opportunity here, and we can actually add value through these ancillary revenue streams to these assets, because we're not just looking at what's our monthly rent roll. Now we have ancillary revenue streams that come in that increase the value of the asset, that bump up the net operating income, and so you can have a higher or a lower cap rate.
It sounds a lot like a concierge service in a hotel.
That's
No.
Yeah, we're adding that to it. Absolutely, that's right. It's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, this is like far more brilliant than glamping, which
Well, yes, yes, yes.
so if we can ask, obviously California cries out for something like this.
Mhm.
What other regions have you looked at? Are you potentially planning for a first phase assault?
Yeah, yeah. We're looking at this for targets of opportunity. And it's easier, as you know, to run a business in multi-states today than it was 20 years ago. I mean, look at this right now. I mean, we're doing video calls, right?
Right.
15 minutes before I came on to do this podcast, I was on a multi-state video call with our team members. And so we can actually get a lot more done, efficiencies, and I think we're going to see more and more of this with AI entering the workforce, like where we can actually touch it daily, right? So we're looking at, most of the great markets. I don't have tons of interest in going to markets like Bakersfield, for instance. Nothing against Bakersfield, but I don't see a lot of upside for the hospitality space that's there. But we're looking in, the usual suspects: Boston, New York, Atlanta, Austin, Denver, the Pacific Northwest to some degree. Yeah. So if there is a great opportunity, we'll look at it. The interesting thing that I think a lot of people who get into the franchising or multi-unit space is you've got to make sure that you have a really strong hub and spoke system. If I've got my primary nexus here in California and I do one deal in pick the city, Ocala, Florida, that's going to be very hard for me to operate that thing unless I get 2 or 3 other assets in that same market. So I've got some economies of scale, right? From the HR perspective, from the marketing and branding perspective, from the leadership perspective. Oh, you're laughing at me, Fred. What are you laughing at, dude? So that's what we're looking at.
You said the M word. It's my word.
Yeah, yeah. Marketing.
I love talking about marketing. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, so that's kind of that's what we're doing. So you asked, are we looking to stay regional? Are we looking, to do a frontal assault? It's just targets of opportunity. But once we identify a market, we're going to go into that market big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might as well. Like you say, you need to leverage what you have.
Well, here's the thing that we learned. You know, we've got 4 hotels in Chicago right now, and the people that are on the ground, and I think, you know, having worked with multi-unit people, because, you know, I have this coaching and mentoring program as well. I used to work for McDonald's 100 years ago. I understand the franchising model. The problem is that when people own multiple units, they think, okay, I'm the rock star, and you may be the rock star, but if the people that are running those units don't know how to win the hearts and minds of the locals, it will be an uphill battle.
That's right.
And so this is what we had to learn with our 4 hotels in Chicago. Chicago is a unique market, and we wanted all of our managers to know and love the Chicago market and not bring in this Southern California mentality. You know, it's a little bit more, it's more different, not more better necessarily.
Yeah, it's different is a good word.
but right. And so you need to understand the local nuances of the market.
Right.
It's easy to do when you have multiple properties there. I was just having this conversation with someone, one of our team members earlier, that when you got to remember, we may be franchise owners, we may be multi-unit owners, and that's probably a lot of your listeners or multi-unit operators. It's really your team members, what most people call employees, but we call them team members. It's really your team members that are running the show.
Yeah.
They have to understand the nuances of that local market. I think it's the Achilles heel when, you know, because we've got the bank account or we've got the education or we actually hold title, we think we're the smartest ones in the room. And oftentimes we're not when it comes down to actually providing that customer experience. We call it a client experience, not a, I'm a little bit weird, Fred, Ray, you remember this. To us, clients are relational, customers are transactional.
So
yes.
You just said what Ray always spouts.
Yeah,
I've
said that many times.
Oh, good.
I have clients, and my employees are my family.
Yeah.
I like to think of it that way because I every time I see one of my employees, I greet them, you know, and you know, how's it going? You know, how's everything with you and your family and things like that. You know, and it's becoming even more so now as it's becoming harder to find good employees.
Well, listen, I just got through going over this. We had one of our investor meetings yesterday for an asset that we have up in the Silicon Valley. It's a great asset, a hotel that just opened about a year ago. And it's 5 minutes from the Facebook campus, 5 minutes from the Stanford campus. This is a market that has 1.1% unemployment. All right. It is hard to find what we call team members. You might call them family members. We call them team members. It's hard to find them. It's basically zero employment in this marketplace.
Yeah.
And so when you're paying dishwashers and room attendants, housekeepers, as some people would call, 18 to 20 bucks an hour, you can imagine what that does to the rest of the pay scale, right?
Yeah.
And so there's almost full employment up there. It's hard to find those team members. But when we do little things like you do, Ray, you treat them like family members. We treat them like team members and not employees. Our philosophy is this: if we call them employees, they're going to show up like employees.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, is it payday, boss? When's thank God it's Friday, kind of thing. Versus when we treat them like team members, they all show up understanding that we all have impact on the bottom line. We all have impact on the success or failure of the business. These are the little subtleties I think separate rockstar, the top 1%ers, versus just the average mediocre operators.
Sometimes it's hard to relate to another business owner how important that is to have that relationship with your employees, where you begin to call them, you know, family members and begin to understand what their thought processes are, and it actually gives you an insight as to what may be coming down the road, and that can be very important, you know, because sometimes they misunderstand things that they hear in the news, and they don't really understand, you know, what's important.
What do you mean by that? That they don't understand what they might hear in the news? So you're talking about the team members or your family members?
A couple of years ago, there was some information being circulated in the state about health insurance, and apparently they thought that, you know, that I should be supplying health insurance to everyone. And we never reached that point of having that many employees where that was a necessity. But there was a point when they were beginning to think that I was cheating them out of something, and of course I wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. That's very interesting, the way you put this. And this is where you can't over communicate enough
Mm-hmm.
with those people, whether they're family members, employees, team members, whatever you call them. But sadly, it's one of the classic, what I call leadership mistakes, is under communicating and assuming that the team members are as aware of changing law as you are or as we are.
Yes.
Most of our people who are on our payroll, I don't care what you call them, they're just trying to survive.
That's right.
They're just trying to put their kids through school, make sure that they have a great relationship with their significant other, having a little bit of fun on the weekends. They're not keeping up to speed on this kind of stuff. And so by us saying, hey, we're an organization, we've got 30 members, and this health insurance law requires that we have to have 50 or more,
right.
We're a little bit different than that. The good news is this, because we're small, so you got to kind of put a silver lining on these kind of things, right? The good news is that we're small, we're agile, we can respond to the economies, we have more freedom, we're not shackled like some of the big employers are, and we can actually have a great work environment, unlike some of the larger people. I know your name, you're not just a number someplace else. This is where leadership comes in.
Yeah.
And it's sad, Ray, because I think so many people get into business ownership and business management and leadership. The higher up the ladder they go, the more passive they become in actually touching the team members. And I don't mean physically touching the team members in California.
Right. You might want to change that sentence a little bit.
But impacting the team members.
In California,
but you can't become a passive participant in your own business. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got to keep putting all these caveats on this. But we have to be actively engaged in operating our businesses, and not just assume that, well, things are going to take care of themselves. They don't.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun. We've had for Thanksgiving we have a potluck, and it's a lot of fun because I get a chance to enjoy some really good homemade food, and I get a chance to commingle, with everyone, and it's just a great time. And for Christmas, we're all going to go out to a restaurant. Every employee, every other year, for a while we were doing everybody and meeting kids and extended family at these events. And then they said, no, we want to go out by ourselves once in a while. Yeah. So we're alternating now. Whereas one year it's everyone, and then the next year it's just the employees. So and we have a good time, celebrating Christmas.
Yeah, I remember even my parents. Now I'm an older guy, but I remember my parents. One of the big events that they went to each year, and they worked for a factory back in rural New York. My dad was a machine operator. That was his title. But it was the holiday, or the Christmas party that they went to. They got all dressed up for this to go out. And for some people, these holiday events, it's the most significant event that they go to during the year, with the exception of family celebrations like weddings, right? I think it's really important that we do this stuff for our team members, and it does build a sense of loyalty because with this low unemployment rate that we're talking about and attracting team members, the more we can do to build loyalty. I mean, the cost per team member to go to hold a Christmas party pales in comparison to the cost, and it really is a cost when one of your team members leaves and you have to replace them.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so anyway, I know that there are some people who scratch their heads like, what? You take people out to dinner? You have these parties? Like, yeah, because it's an investment in the business.
It is. Well, if you want to, of course, I don't consider it that, but it's more fun.
Oh, I understand, but I'm saying that the side benefit is that it's an investment in the business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred, do you have something to do?
Yeah, I've had something to say since the comment of thank God it's Friday. And I often feel that way because I'm happy it's Friday and I've only got 2 more days in the work week. So But what's wrong with that? So on that, sorry folks, on that note, we're gonna break for a commercial and
Commercial.
a commercial. Yeah, so I want to thank the Link Local Network. As you can see in the scrolling title most of the time, you can call in at 323-580-5755. That's 323-580-5755. Or the folks that are sitting on the website, you can also ask questions there. Or we're monitoring a whole lot of social media platforms. You can talk to us then. And now a word. Ooh, I'm behind. Much stuff to do. From a sponsor.
Hey, franchise owners. How's your local marketing? Do you feel like you could use some help keeping up with your social media posts and comments and reviews? Do you wonder if you could be doing more to attract local customers? Are you able to identify new move-ins to your local area? At Westvyne, we help franchisees like you reach more local customers through digital marketing. With daily monitoring, creative content, and ad placement, and customer data intelligence, we'll get your business in front of the people who want your products or services. We also work with franchisors who need an agency to handle the digital marketing for all of their locations. If you're ready to reach more local customers, give us a call at 805-265-5440 or visit us at westvyne.com. That's 805-265-5440 or westvyne with a Y.com.
And we're back, folks. Boy, there we are. Now, we don't like that one. Ooh, that's bad. So we're going to flip back here. There, much better video. We're back now. We'll have to fix that other screen there. With Larry Broughton. Ray, you want to take us away again? Because I got the last funny comment, so you guys can talk some more.
Well, we were talking a little bit about having fun and taking our family, our employees, our team members, and having fun with them. But I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. You mentioned something about artificial intelligence earlier on in the show. And one of the reasons I'm in the business I'm in is because I thought I was negatively affected by the increase in technology, because I'm a kind of a technical person, and at one point working for Sharp Electronics, working for automotive diagnostics, and and the increase in technology put me out, so to speak. So that's why I got into business, and I thought, wow, I'll get into something that's technology proof, and that's house cleaning. But so I guess my question to you is, how do you feel technology or artificial intelligence is affecting your business?
Yeah, well, let's see here. I mean, the classic example that people use is that, the automotives put the buggy whip business out of business. And, this AI thing, I think, goes back to the second industrial revolution, right? Where machines actually were meant to augment human productivity,
right,
not displace it necessarily. But I'm in the hospitality industry, which includes hotels and all the stuff we listed, restaurants. I mean, we can look around, right? When people started pushing for this increase in minimum wage, what did you start to see at places like McDonald's, Burger King, all those places, grocery stores even, right? Automatic checkouts and checkout kiosk. So we're seeing that in the hotel industry. Some people are embracing it, like the typical road warriors, the people who travel several days a week. They don't need to deal with a guest service host or a front desk clerk or agent, as most people call them. They don't mind just showing up, checking in on their phone, getting an electronic key on their phone and walking right up to the door and checking in. They don't need that human interaction. So with the increase of cost in doing business, right? Again, particularly in California, cost of insurance, workers' comp rates, payroll, all of those kind of things. Business owners need to be more efficient with their time. So it's a tough trade-off, because contrary to what most non-business owners understand, is most business owners aren't making millions of dollars a year. The average small business never does $1 million
Right.
in revenue a year. It's only a couple percentage points of businesses that ever hit the $1 million mark. But if you really are an employee who does not understand business, you just assume, well, Ray, you own this business, you must be doing millions of dollars in revenue a year, and you probably are making $1 million in bottom line that you're putting in your pocket every year. I'm going to guess, based on statistics, that's probably not the case. And so you need to look for efficiencies, right? So I think that AI is impacting every part of the industry, whether it is operations, whether it's our guest experience, whether it's human resources, whether it's accounting. The more analytics that we can do from the accounting and data capture side, even for marketing. Sorry, Fred, that's for you. I didn't hear any applause after that word, though. I don't know what happened. You're a little slow on the uptake there.
No, you only get the one applause. Other ones, you learn it's a, can't.
But right. Well, you know this. Even on the marketing side, the AI that we can look at that captures data helps us launch more effective marketing programs moving forward. Mm-hmm. Right. On the AI side, for HR, I think that there's ways to screen applicants that we couldn't do before, that we had to use through human interaction, right? So it's impacting the entire industry, top to bottom, front to back. It's impacting the industry. There are some hotels that are actually have robots that are delivering room service. I don't know how I feel about that yet. Mm-hmm. I still believe that there are some areas, like I said, the road warriors, mm-hmm. who don't need to check in at a front desk. That's absolutely fine. But there's something to me about seeing a robot going up and down the hall delivering room service that creeps me out a little bit. Reminds me of, I'm that age where I remember Lost in Space. Remember the robot going around?
Oh, I got to get that clip. Danger, Will Robinson.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. That's where I still go a little bit. But I'm trying to embrace AI because the truth is it is not going away. It is not going away. No. And so we need to be able to work around it. I think, Ray, you're probably one of the smart ones who said, okay, what am I going to do to move forward? Because AI, I think studies have shown, are going to have truck drivers, number one, first, right, with these driverless trucks. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be huge. We're going to have a lot of people that are about our age that have to actually figure out what the heck am I going to do with my life. But we need to be talking about it. I think more of us need to be talking about it. It's an important element in business ownership, for sure.
All right. So the question I have is, so AI takes over doing everything for everybody, and then nobody's got to do anything, and then AI says, we don't need you anymore. So how does anybody make any money? Does AI really care about making money? Never mind.
No, and if you go to the logical extent that you just went down, there are people like Andrew Yang. I'm not going to get into politics. This is why some people are talking about this basic minimum income, right? We do need to be thinking about. I like this black hole behind you that we're about to be sucked down. But I do believe that we got to have some big thinkers on this. I'm not smart enough to. You have people like Elon Musk that are smarter than I am who's talking about this all the time. But it's not going to go away, for sure. But listen, we didn't know that there were, I think a couple hundred years ago, what's an automobile mechanic? Nobody knew, right?
That's right.
Who's going to be building the computers? I don't know. I guess if you take this thing to the fullest extent, AIs will be building themselves.
And then we're in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So
then,
which pill are you taking? So then
that's rhetorical.
We've talked about, so this is, normally we don't talk about AI because it scares the crap out of people, me included. But so with, you are Special Service Forces, Green Beret. You've been on the front lines in places people don't know exist. They never teach you in geography. warfare tends to be a very personal thing because somebody's either trying to kill you or you're trying to kill them. Um, how does AI affect that? Does it make war obsolete because
Yeah.
we get too good at killing each other, so we either
No.
wipe each other out or?
Man, it's like you guys have been spying on me the last couple of days. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day about this. I think war is always going to exist as long as there are humans.
Yeah.
War is going to exist because power is going to exist, right? And we like to think that we can build this utopian society where there's like one government, but the problem with these utopian communistic types of societies, it doesn't take into account the human condition. Until we all are able to embrace the philosophy of sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows every day, someone will be oppressing someone.
Yep.
And this is why you need, as they say in the special ops community, rough men willing to stand to fight the bad guys, And the motto of special forces is "De oppresso libere," free the oppressed. There's always going to be evil in the world. So even if AI is out there, there's going to be someone using this is the scary part, right? There's someone going to be taking AI and using it for evil, right? Think about China. We know for a fact that China is trying to build these superhuman warriors, right? Where they're actually literally integrating AI with superhumans. We know this to be a fact. That's a little bit scary.
It is.
About these super soldiers, when you consider the billions of people that they could just swarms of them coming over the horizon, right? That can be a little bit scary, right? Just swarms of them.
I'm not sleeping.
But AI is being used now, right? I mean, drones.
That's right.
It's part of AI, right? I believe that used appropriately, though, AI can limit the amount of collateral damage that has been done. We don't need to go and do this carpet bombing that we know from most conventional wars.
That's right.
And in fact, AI was used when, what's his name that was just taken out? Just used his name recently.
Yeah, we know.
Baghdadi. AI was used during that mission. And if we hadn't used some kind of, AI-assisted warfare, probably more people would have been killed. So again, it could be used for good or evil. It's the whole yin and yang of life, right?
See, I'm worried about it when the Nigerian princes get it. Because how will you know? How will you know if it's really true? And actually, there is a Nigerian prince in jail where he made couple of $1 million running that scam from jail. I love the news.
There's a lot of scams coming out of there, and that's another show.
Ray, your question.
Yeah. Speaking of drones, though, one of my fears is drones that are small, about the size of locusts, that be able to fly into wherever you're at, into your home, determine maybe what color your eyes are and what you're thinking, and if you're not thinking the right thing or your eyes are the wrong color, just simply implode your brain.
Man, we've gone way away from the hotel industry.
So let's go
way back to it. So obviously, how we talked about the road warrior, and because I'm one of those people, usually when I'm on the road, it's like, let me alone, I'll deal with it. Just let me. I would love the key fob, like you said, or the on my phone. That'd be awesome. How do millennials view it differently, though? What type of experience do they look for when they're going on I'm assuming either on a road warrior trip or just a vacation?
Yeah, I think that the rise of the home sharing space suits them, many of them, well. And I'm talking about Airbnb, VRBO, those types of things. But many of the studies are showing that what they're looking for is just a unique experience. Hopefully, there can be some sort of social cause. Like maybe there's a hotel that has a give back, that part of the rate goes to some charitable nonprofit, conscious capitalist program. But I don't know if you've noticed, but the hotel lobbies are changing again. We're back to the point where smaller rooms, more common area space, because there's this concept of being together alone. Okay, so I'm by myself traveling, but I want to be in a public space where there's a lot of activity going on. I mean, think about when you go into a Starbucks or a coffee shop nowadays. Lots of people, every table is taken, somebody's there by themselves, and they're sitting there with their headphones on, doing their work on their laptop. I've noticed that there are more people there than actually going to a coffee. When I was younger or in dating and all that, you'd go to a coffee shop for a community experience where I'd sit across the table and actually talk to you. And now you go into these coffee shops and many of the tables are taken up by one person by themselves, but they're around a lot of other people. So a lot of hotel lobbies are being set up that way as well. Yeah.
It sounds lonely, actually.
I think it is. And one of the conversations I had just last night about this is that with the advent of social media, and we know what's happening there, right? The question is it done more globally, good or bad?
Yeah.
When you've got all of these studies that are showing that the rise in depression of young people because of the comparing themselves to somebody else, and not really having human connection and human interaction, versus the good that's happened, that's up for debate. I could tell you with a 15-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter, my son, I can hear him in his room when he's online playing these games. He's talking to people all over the world, having conversations and meeting people. My daughter and has met people that she knew online before she met them face to face. So there's good and bad with everything, right? But it is kind of, I think it's sad too. I believe I'm one of these people. I think that we were built for community, like real community, really knowing people. And again, not to get too California woo-woo, but there's something about physical touch, right? Like literally, this is killing Fred here. But no, listen, we know this for a fact that when people have human contact, blood pressure goes down, heart rate settle. You have fewer heart attacks, Fred, if you weren't living this isolated life behind a computer screen all day long. Okay.
I watched the whales go past in the ocean.
Watching life pass you by. That's a great analogy right there.
I'll take watching whales go past any day than people. All right, so
it's interesting
stop, We're gonna head to commercial and then come back to way off pillars of franchising. Want to thank the Link Local Network for broadcasting our show. You can dial in at 323-580-5755 with questions. That's 323-580-5755. You can chat at pillarsoffranchising.com or every place that you're watching the video. Also want to announce Link Local Network is going to be launching How to Buy a Business Without Selling Your Soul show. It's been fun working on that. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Ever wonder how successful business people get educated about franchise business options? The Franchise Consulting Company is a group of over 100 franchise professionals with more than 2,000 years of franchise experience. We help our clients select and investigate franchise companies. And like a realtor, our services are free of charge to you. Our fees are paid by the seller. Reach out to us to learn more and get a free copy of the Franchise MBA, the #1 bestseller and highest reviewed book on Amazon in the franchise category. Our website is thefranchiseconsultingcompany.com, or feel free to call us on 800-321-6072.
And we'll be actually having Nick on within the next couple of 3-4 weeks. And as a reminder, you can go to the pillarsoffranchising.com website, and we will also, you fill out the form, say you want the book, and we'll get the book from Nick for you. May even get him to autograph it.
I just want to kind of continue with the conversation we were having a little bit about community. And I asked an employee one time, what's the best part of your day? And of course,
explore your options. Meet face-to-face with dozens of franchise executives representing dozens of quality brands. A wide range of price points and ownership models are available. Attend our free seminars on accounting, real estate, and marketing. Franchise law experts will be there to answer your questions, and banks are on hand to discuss loans and financing. The first 100 attendees will receive free VR goggles. For free tickets, visit www.franexpousa.com. The Great American Franchise Expo, coming to a city near you in 2019. Check out our website for schedules.
And for those who are listening who can't see the video, the actual, we've got the list of all 6 up. The next one is February 16th and 15th at the Irving Convention Center in Dallas. And there's also one in February 22nd and 23rd at the Houston Stafford Center, if my eyes aren't going batty on me. And we're back.
Did anybody hear what I said?
Oh, I'm quite sure they did, my friend, but that's okay. One way or another. Either.
All right, I'll repeat. So we were talking a little bit about community and how people get together. And one of the questions I asked an employee several years ago was, what's the best part of your day? And of course, I'm thinking, when I got home, right?
Yeah.
No. When she came into work in the morning, because she has a chance to talk with a lot of friends that she has at work and communicate to them, what's going on in their family and their things like that. And she says, the hardest part of my day is when I get home. And now I got to fix dinner. I got to make sure everybody's satisfied, that kids have enough clothes and food and everything like that. And her work day begins when she gets off of work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was talking about earlier, that some people are just trying to get through life, and the bonds, some of the most significant bonds that we build are with people that are in the organizations that we've created, right? And there's a moral obligation, I think, that we have as business owners to recognize that many of our team members see more of our coworkers and of us than they do of their significant others, husbands, wives, spouses, children, right? There is a big obligation to that. And when we, if we go through life building businesses where we just beat people up, is it any wonder that they don't go home miserable and want to kick the dog when they walk in the door?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad that you'd mentioned that, because again, business ownership, franchise ownership is not the faint of heart. There's a lot of obligation. There's more to life. You just see beyond the bottom line. Right? So I appreciate you sharing that. That's good, Ray.
So eventually I'll ask you what I now call the Max questions. It's either the Addison question or the Max question, but Max is but before we get to that, I'll ask you a version of it for you. So the goal of Pillars of Franchising is to transfer the opportunity to somebody else. And as a small business owner, we all think about either how we're going to sell or if it's going down to kids. So is Broughton Hotels going to your kids, or they want to go and do something else?
Yeah, that is a great question. I don't know. I wish I know. I wish I really knew. I'm sure my daughter is not going to want to be involved. She's off at her first year of college. What I'm trying to do now is understand that there's got to be multiple opportunities to divest myself from the organization. If I just go in with this is the one way I can divest myself from this, if that opportunity doesn't come along when the timing is right, then I got a problem, right? And so I've got to look at this from a multi-pronged approach here. My son, who knows? He's 15. Thank goodness he looks up to me. He respects me. He's a smart guy, but that's 15 and I'm 57. I don't want to be doing this, 35 years from now. And so I have had conversations with our executive team about what does this organization look like 5 years from now? What's it look like 10 years from now? But I'm pretty fit. I'm pretty healthy. I'm pretty vibrant still. And I could see myself actively involved in the organization if things keep going like they are. And I love doing what I'm doing 15 years from now, easily. Maybe not the number of hours that I'm working then. But I'm not sure yet. We think about it all the time. but I don't know yet. I think I'll have a better idea a couple of years from now once we see how we actually deployed these assets or this fund to acquire assets.
Yeah.
See, I for a while I didn't care, and then had the grandkid, and it's like, okay, 20 years from now she takes over from grandpa.
Is that what you're thinking, really? I mean, are you being serious? That's what you're setting up for?
Oh, that's
yeah.
With the grandson now, it's he gets a piece too.
Sure. Well, this is why some people don't think about like legacy trust, right? You do have to start thinking about this stuff. What happens, and God forbid something happens, like I walk out the door and get hit by a bus today, right? And so I do encourage business owners to look at, it's called key man insurance, but key person insurance. And if those who don't know what it is basically getting a life insurance policy on your business or on yourself, so that the business has money to replace you and keep going. Because again, if we look at this, like we have a responsibility to in our case, hundreds and hundreds of team members to keep going.
That's right.
When you start thinking about your sphere of influence, and it's not just my family, it's my team members' families, their children, our vendors, right?
Yeah.
The sphere of influence is pretty big.
It is.
And do I just want to get hit by a bus and everything is done? I don't think so. And so key person insurance is something to consider, so that you can so that the remaining team members can actually hire a new CEO or chairperson or whatever, however you define yourself.
That's awesome advice for our listeners.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
If there's any folks out there that are listening, give us a shout on if you've gotten it and where you've gotten it from, or post on the website, something like that. Just
they have this thing called Google, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm kidding.
And you know what? That's what I would tell people. But you know what? There's something. The first time somebody called me about the show, and they started asking me questions, and I'm thinking, okay, I've never bought a franchise, but my co-host always says this, and I said, do you have a franchise coach? And they said, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh man, you need a new one, because I know the answer to that question. So, but it's all happens because we touch a whole lot of people doing this stuff.
We sure do.
It is a fiduciary responsibility we have to everyone we touch. And you're right. It's not just your family. It's not just the employees. It's the vendors and everything that everyone you do business with is counting on you. And I never really looked at quite that big a picture, including the vendors. But you're right. There's a lot of people out there who depend on you being there.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Let's say that you own a couple of Subway sandwich shops, and all of a sudden you close down. And there are salespeople that are selling you deli meats all the time. And if you go away, all of a sudden that salesperson is not getting the commission that they used to get. Right. Yeah. So it's the long tail, as they say, of our impact. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So Ray, I'll go with the Max question, and then you can ask the last question, and we'll all head toward. Thank God it's Friday. So Max is my now about 5-month-old grandson, and so I'm going to ask you as superhero Larry Broughton. What advice would you give to my grandson for success?
Oh gosh. I'm going to share kind of the same thing I shared with a guy named Bedros Keuilian, who is who you should have on your show probably. He is the founder of Fit Body Boot Camp. He's got about, I'm going to guess, 900 franchises now around the world.
Wow. We'd like to have him on the show.
What's that?
We'd like to have him on the show.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He and I met at what's called the Kill House in Boise, Idaho, several years ago. One of those facilities that looks like you go through with handguns and that's set up like banks and automobiles and houses and those kind of things.
Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. So he was there with his son, who had turned 13, And there were about a dozen of us men who were there. And it was his son's birthday, and this was he was using this as kind of a transition, almost like a vision quest, because in the American society, there aren't a lot of ways that we transition our our boys into young men, like a lot of cultures, right? And so he was using this, and so he put his son in the middle, and about a dozen of us got around him and shared a piece of advice. So I'd probably share the same thing, and that is about success. A couple of them. Be willing to work hard, not just smart, but to work hard, because tenacity eats talent for lunch. There are a lot of really talented people out there who don't have the grit in them. They don't have the fight in them. And so they live these gray lives of mediocrity. Mm-hmm. When if they had the grit and the tenacity and the strength to just persevere against all odds, a lot of the people who are highly talented just quit. And you can, showing up like it matters means something, right? And so being really tenacious. I think we need to surround ourselves with people who are bolder and brighter than we are. Jim Rohn has a famous quote that says, "You become the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most." And so I think that's really important, particularly for young men, because having a 15-year-old right now, I see this. It's only one decision. You guys, Ray, Fred, you were young men at once. I don't know your backgrounds, but we were all one decision away from being in jail or being dead, mm-hmm. right? We probably haven't lived if we weren't that close to it, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you can surround yourself with people who that one decision can take you down the wrong path, right? Mm-hmm. So be selective about who you have in your life. So I think those 2 things, Fred, I would say, is that tenacity eats talent for lunch, and surround yourself with people who are bolder and brighter than you are. How's that?
Excellent.
That works for me.
Excellent advice.
Oh, what a great picture. Wow. That's awesome.
Go ahead, Ray. You got the last question, my friend.
Well, first of all, from one veteran to another, I want to thank you for your service.
Thanks, brother. You too.
Greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And the next question is, if someone's interested in what you're doing or your books, how is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, I hate to say this because I'm trying to take a social media break right now.
Yeah, being on the show, not helping.
I'm on all the social media platforms as at Larry Broughton. I've got my personal website is either thelarrybroughton.com or larrybroughton.me. That's just my first and last name, and you'll find me out there. Or just Google my name, you'll find me. If you go to that website, then it's got my hotel company, it's got my coaching and mentoring programs, it's got links to all the books that are out there. But larrybroughton.me is probably the easiest way because it's got the social media links as well.
Excellent.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you.
Listen, you guys were a lot of fun. So I love the banter. It makes me smile.
This cracked me up, and man, I'm going to have to rename the episode to AI Discussions with Larry.
Oh, gosh, maybe.
I love it. We'll be back next week with a new interview. Happy Thanksgiving, folks. And This is...
Thank you